Welcome to the lair of the Batty Boffin.
Hi there Batty fans, time for a little more quadratics. In previous videos we've looked at multiplying out brackets that look like these, and remember that when we multiply them out we got 4 terms because we multiplied the first things and then the outside things, then the inside things and then the last things, F-O-I-L, foil, and we also drew some dragon claws. So hopefully you remember that because you're going to do it just now. So pause the video and just multiply that one out for me, please. If you're not sure how to do that, don't watch this video. Go back to some of the previous ones where it shows you how to multiply them out. Okay, you'll go. Right, let's see how we got on with that. The first two, that's an x times the x squared. Then the outside two, that's one of our little dragon claws. Sometimes I like to put a drop of blood on the end. I don't advise you do that in exams. Well, might cheer the examiner up, you never know. So the outside two, that's an x times a 5. 5x. Then the inside two, that's the 2 times the x. And finally the last two. And there's another one of those dragon claws. So we've got a 2 times a 5. 2 times 5, 10. So there's our 4 terms, hence the term quadratic, and they simplify because we have an x term and then another x term. So all in all we get, whoops, I don't want to do that, x squared plus 7x plus 10. Okay, so hopefully that seems reasonable to you. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at doing the reverse. Instead of starting with the brackets and multiplying out, we're going to start with this bit and do what's called factorising, which is putting it back in the brackets. Before we do that with some numbers, I'd like to do it with some letters so that you can see where it comes from. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing, only I'm going to put, instead of a 2 and a 5, I'm going to put A and B. A and B are just any constants you might like to have. So if we have x plus, I'll try a different pen, shall I? X plus A is just 7 or 3 or something like that, and then x plus B. Again, B is just any old random number. So again, applying FOIL, first two, the x times the x, we get x squared. And then the outside two, the x times the b, we get bx. Here it was 5x, there it is. And then for the inside two, the a times the x, we get plus ax, and there it is, there's my a, and there's my ax term. And then finally the last two, the a times the b, plus ab. So you'll see what we've got here is an x term, an x squared term, 2 x terms, and this term on its own, A and B, remember, are just numbers. So that's a number times a number. So that is just a number, it's got no x's in it. So just simplifying a little bit here, our x squared term is just x squared. These two stick together. How many x's do we have? Well, we have ax's and we have bx's. So all in all, we have a plus b x's. And finally, we have our term at the end, ab. So just compare it with this. There's our x squared. How many x's do we have? A plus b. A plus b. Here they are, a plus b. That's a plus b. Okay, the 2 plus the 2 plus the 5 makes the 7. And the last bit at the end is the a times the b, ab. So there it is, a times b. So when we have brackets like this, the first term is x squared, the second term How many x's do we have? It's our two numbers added together. That's how we got the 7. And the constant term at the end was our two numbers multiplied. So x squared, our two numbers added, that's how many x's we've got, and our two numbers multiplied to make just the number term at the end. That's important, as you'll see when you come back in a minute when I've wiped down this board, and what we're going to do is now factorise. So back in a minute. Right, let's have a go at factorising. Here I've got a quadratic. So this is what I would have got as my answer if I'd started off with the two sets of brackets and multiplied them out. So this is the answer. We want to know the question. I've just put up here on the left that result we had on the previous board. We're multiplying out two brackets. When it's just got an x at the beginning, we get x squared. The number in front of the x's is our a and our b, our two numbers added. And the constant term at the end, the thing that's just a number with no x's in it, is our two numbers multiplied. And those are the clues we're going to use. So, here we've got our answer. We want to know what the question is. We know that because of that x squared, it must start off as x something times by x and something. But we don't know what those somethings are. However, we've got some clues. We know that when you add the numbers, you get 9, and when you multiply the numbers, you get 8. Now, you may be able to see the answers here. I've picked some nice numbers, but we're going to work through to any, because sometimes you get numbers where you can't just look at them and see the answer. So, we need some numbers that add to make 9. Well, you could use 4 and 5, or 6 and 3, or 10 and -1, or 100 and -91. I mean, there's loads you could use. There's lots and lots of things you use. It could be 4.5 and 4.5. Generally, you don't use halves, but you never know, you might. There are loads of things that add to make 9. Lots and lots, okay? Could be 8 and 1, could be 7 and 2, could be 6 and 3. But we also know that the two numbers multiply to make 8. And there are not that many things that multiply to make 8. Things that multiply to make 8. It could be a 1 times an 8, or a -1 times a -8. Don't forget the negatives on there. Or it could be a 2 times a 4, or a -2 times a -4. Those are the only things that multiply to make 8. Okay? So, we need things that multiply to make 8 and add to make 9. Hopefully you can spot it. It's that one there. So we're just going to write those ones in. A 1 and an 8, and they're both positive. Just to check, we're going to multiply out the first two, the outside two, the inside two, and the last two. 1 times 8, remember. So that simplifies down to x squared plus 9x plus 8, which is what we started with. Ta-da! So, there's going to be one for you to do in just a minute. I would like you, please, to have a go at, let's have a look. Let's have x squared minus 6x. Again, we'll have a plus 8 on the end. Okay? So you pause and have a go at factorising that the same way that I did here. I've got this plus 8 on the end, so you can use the same kind of crib sheet there. Okay, see you in a minute. Welcome back. Okay, so we need some numbers. Well, we need some brackets that start off with an x. And this one starts off with an x as well. And we need numbers that add to make -6 and multiply to make 8. Again, we've got our list of numbers that multiply to make 8. Which of those add to make -6? It's these ones. So we can put those numbers in our brackets. It doesn't matter which way round these ones go because the two brackets are both the same. And then just to check, we'll multiply out. So, the first ones, we have x squared The outside ones, we have negative 4x. The inside ones, negative 2x. And the last ones, negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Make sure you're happy on that. If not, there are other batty boffin videos that tell you all about it. So that's plus 8 at the end. And when we simplify that, we get x squared minus 6x plus 8, which is what we wanted. Okay, so that's basically how we do factorising. It's basically inspired guesswork using this as a big clue. So pop back to some more videos and we're going to do a little more practice on this. I'll see you next time, Batty fans.